Hi guys, and welcome back to Hairdryer Treatment. I've got a very special guest today. Rick the Red is here. I'm absolutely buzzing, Rick. You're making your debut on Hairdryer Treatment. How are you feeling?
Feeling really good since we made it. Pleasure to be here, by the way. Thanks very much for asking me. Looking forward to it.
Pleasure's all mine, Rick. Thank you. I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on. Obviously, like you say, the mood has been lifted by the fact we've got Champions League sealed for next season. I mean, first I'll talk about that Leicester game and what obviously happened. I'll say we crawled over the finish line. We got there in the end. But the last few games, we just weren't at it, were we? We weren't playing the way that we have been playing post-lockdown.
Yeah, the level did slip a little bit for the last few games. But I said on one of the United Stand shows, I said that we had a slightly tougher run of fixtures. We happened to open up, with the likes of Brighton and Villa. And Sheffield United, even, who just got beat 3-0 by Newcastle, they didn't come back as they were before.
No,
so a little bit of a lucky start. And when I say lucky in the much that the fixtures weren't so tough. But then suddenly, West Ham were coming to the fore. Southampton beat City. We had to play Southampton. West Ham beat Norwich 4-0. They had a couple of they beat Chelsea. So suddenly we were playing tougher fixtures. So, sometimes you've got to give the opposition a bit of credit, and it's not just down to us not playing so well as the opposition giving us tougher games, basically. So
and I think I agree, and I think tiredness obviously creeps into it as well. I do think we look leggy. I know that we had a break pre-season, mid-season, should I say, and they were saying that's like a mini pre-season for the players. But getting back into it, obviously, like you say, tough fixtures for us. For me, I would rather us play against the big teams because we've been better against them. We struggled breaking down the teams that sit in, so I didn't think it was an easy running for us at all. And I'm just grateful we got there in the end. But I do think tiredness creeped in a little bit. The lack of quality to bring on. Ollie obviously struggled with that. He struggled to rotate as much as he'd like to.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll start off with the Ollie debate and we'll go into the goals and the players that we'll talk about in a minute. But in terms of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, 2 semi-finals, he's finished third. We're still in Europa League. It's got to be a good season for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's had a decent season in the end. It was a bit of a struggle to start with. But anybody who sort of might have been Ollie out from the start, I've got to hold their hands up that he's really turned it around in the second half of the season.
He has, and Bruno Fernandes has come in as well, and obviously he's took a lot of credit for how we've improved. Yeah. But even I said the last few games, his passing was wayward. Do you think it was just tiredness with him? Surely we don't make every player bad who joins Manchester United, do we?
Yeah, I don't know what caused it. There was a spell. There was a little spell when we played Villa and when we played Brighton where they were really knocking it about well and keeping a short, simple passing game. But suddenly, just the shooting from distance crept back in and maybe a few too many difficult passes. Maybe it's the pressure of thinking we've got to create something because we want to win the game. But you need to be more relaxed. And, the better way of playing is to keep it simple. And the chances to make chances will happen if you keep the ball and keep passing the ball. So I think
it's a bit of patience, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit of patience. I think maybe a little bit of stress caused them to play like that, a bit of worry, if you like. So maybe.
Yeah, well, we've said it for a long time now. Is there a mentality thing at United where when the pressure gets on top of us, we seem to bottle it? We saw all the other clubs competing for top 4 bottled it as well this season, and obviously it's helped us out in the end. But I do think there is that element, and when the pressure is on, it does affect us as a team. But on the whole, out of 10, if you had to rate Ollie's season, with the way that it's gone, obviously, we know performances have got to improve. We know we've got to be more consistent. But on the whole, when you look at it statistically, what would you give him out of 10?
For the season, I think I'd give him a 7, I think. It's a decent ending to the season. And it's obviously, look, I'm long enough in the tooth to remember all of the glory years under Fergie. I remember the bad years before Fergie. So to get carried away by finishing third isn't really what Man United's all about. But you've got to appreciate the strength of Manchester City and Liverpool these days. And maybe third, if we're honest with ourselves, was the best we could have hoped for. So you can't not finish in third when it's the best you can hope for, is it really? So it deserves a pat on the back. I just think that any negatives against him, I don't think he was necessarily on the ball in the first half of the season. You know my feelings about Matic, and Matic only got back in the side because of, I won't bang on too long about him. He only got back in the side because of injury, and he should have been playing earlier. He should have definitely been playing earlier, and that's down to Ollie. He was fit and waiting to play. He had a minor injury. He was out for a couple of weeks, but overall, he was just out of favour. And if it had been playing earlier, we might have nailed it down a bit easier.
Yeah, I think Matic, what he brings is so much experience as well. I mean, I remember saying it on the United stand a while ago now, saying that Matic is not a glamorous player. He's not one of these glamorous, big, skillful players who's going to light the game up, but he does the simple stuff well and he keeps the game ticking. Yeah, and I think that Matic coming back in, he brought that experience. Doing the simple stuff, that's all you need to do as a CDM. Yeah. And playing that little forward splitting pass, which he's so good at. And I think, like you say, Matic, especially post-lockdown when he got back into the side, I think he was proving all his haters wrong and obviously making yourself proud because I know you're a big Matic fan. What do you think about his new contract, though? Like, how do you see that panning out? Because obviously he's not getting any younger. We all know that. Do you think it's a case where it'll gradually just fizzle down? He's there for the dressing room more so?
Well, that's got to happen at the end of the day. As much as I think he's a top player, which I really do, and I still think he is, nobody can go on forever. But I just think that there's a little bit more ageism creeps into the game in England than in other countries. I mean, in Italy, if you look at Juventus, I'm not exactly sure who's playing at the back for them now, but for years they've had the likes of Bonucci and that, 36, 37, 38-year-old centre-backs. Matic only just plays in front of the centre-backs. He's like a third centre-back at times. I think he's probably, at this level, got years in him. Maybe not years if you're going to be a team that's going to win the league, which is obviously what we want to aim for. But certainly, I would say for the next couple of years, it cost us a lot of money to get a player to do the job that he does equally as well. It cost us a fortune. You know what I mean? So, well,
we've seen with Fred, he was probably our most improved player first half of the season. Great start to the season, but he's not that disciplined CDM that we need, obviously, to fit in the likes of Pogba and Bruno. And I think that's what Matic brings us, that stability there. And you're spot on with that. I remember saying to you on WhatsApp as well a few weeks ago that Matic, to play in a CDM, you don't need to have pace. And so that's, we saw with Rooney, that's where players tend to play when they're getting on in their career. And he's lucky in that sense that is his forte as such. And I think that will help him to go on for a bit longer as well. I'm just going to read this super chat from Alex. Thank you so much, Alex, for the super chat. He says, I would give Ollie an 8 out of 10 at least, as everyone before the season said he would do well to finish in top 4, and even Mourinho said that top 4 would be hard. He's definitely shut down a lot of expectations, hasn't he? And I think that he exceeded what anybody thought he would get. And up until Bruno came in, let's be honest, nobody saw that would happen. GG, NSR, this is George. He says he agrees with that. He thinks Matic seems like a bargain there. So when you think about when we signed Matic, a lot of people were writing him off saying, why are we signing a player like that? Surely he's shut them up now, hasn't he, Rick?
I would have thought so. He's got I think he's got the place nailed down. I mean, a couple of strange things have happened along the way because when he won his place back around Christmas time, he was a nailed-on starter. If you cast your mind back to just before the lockdown, he was playing in all the league games. He played against City when we won, Chelsea when we won, even against Everton when we drew. He played against Watford when we battered Watford. But when we played cup ties against the likes of Lask, Derby County, he didn't play. So to me, he was one of the players who was a nailed-on starter in the league. And as soon as the lockdown, as soon as the restart started, he did a game against Tottenham. And I thought, what's all that about? I asked the question to some of my pals. Has he forgotten what's just happened, pre-lockdown? Do you know what I mean? And if you think about the Tottenham game, we were still losing 1-0 when he came on with 12 minutes to go. And then since then, he's been in the team again all through. It's almost like he forgot what happened. Then he's put him in, and then he's back. He's won his place back again in the space of 12 minutes. By the way, you know what I mean? It's beyond me.
Would you agree with this statement then, Rick? George says Matic, Pogba, and Bruno are the best midfield trio in the league, in his opinion. Would you agree with that? Do you think Matic, Bruno, and Pogba, when they're all playing well, is that the best midfield trio? That's a tough one. There's some good midfields. Some good midfields in the Premier League. I think it's our best midfield we've had for a long time. I think that would be my answer for that. Like, I feel quite confident with that midfield. We've said that Matic in the long run will need replacing, but for now, that's the midfield I feel confident with. But we've spoken about Matic a lot. Let's talk about individual players. If you had to choose a player of the season, and I think this is such a hard question because you forget what's happened before we had the lockdown. I mean, who would you choose to be your player of the season? I mean, I can always start if you want me to. Unless you would like to start. Have you got a clear out and out? Go on then.
I'll start by having a sip of my coffee and you'll get a clue.
There you go. You know what? I was put on the spot on my fan campaign in the United stand and I was saying, like, I said Rashford at the start of the season, for me, he played well. He scored some really important goals for him. And obviously those goals have paid dividend now later on in the season. But I watched the other day, I watched every goal since Ollie took over. And the amount that Martial scored earlier on in the season, and it just reminded me, I thought, I remember that game, Martial played well. And then I saw another one, I thought, I remember that game, Martial played well in that game as well. And it kind of brought back, Martial has had a very good season, considering he's not had a consistent midfield behind him, he's not had consistent support. Like Rashford got injured, obviously, Dan James has been in and out. I think he's had a great season.
Yeah, Martial's head and shoulders the player of the season for me. He had, they both had, Martial and Rashford have both had a short spell out. Martial, can't remember if it was 8, but I think it was 9 games he missed in all competitions. And we didn't score more than 1 goal. I don't know if you know this. We didn't score more than 1 goal in any of the games that he missed. Regularly it was 1 and a couple of zeros. So we just couldn't score without him. And as soon as he came back, we started scoring goals again. His first league game back was Norwich away when we won 3-1 and missed 2 pens. When any luck, we might have had 4 or 5 that day. I think Martial is hard. It's a hard player to say no, he doesn't deserve it this season. He scored some great goals. We're going to talk about goal of the season in a minute, but one of them is that one of my votes is Martial, because I just think he scored some great goals, but this one in particular. But I've always said I used to call him Anthony Partial, and not because I didn't rate him, because I do rate him. For me, I wanted him in the game more. He was too much on the periphery, but I also accepted the fact he didn't have the service, he didn't have the link up, and in the end, he kind of gave up making the runs because he's thinking nobody's going to find me anyway. There wasn't the quality behind him. Matt's just come back into that. Bruno's obviously come into the team. Pogba's back from his injury, and all of a sudden, Martial looks like a different player again. The talent has always been there. I've not doubted it. I've always said he's our most natural scorer in front of goal. It was just more, I wanted to see more of the link up because he can do it. And you've seen it with so many goals post lockdown, the little 1-2 touches. He's such an intelligent player. It's not just his goals, is it? No, his link up play is unbelievable. It's absolutely brilliant. He's the most important. For me, he's the most important player in the team. I've had this argument with Mark and Flex about, they're saying it's Bruno. If they weren't playing and we played, or either one of them wasn't playing, and say McTominay played instead, we'd have McTominay and Matic holding the fort, and then one in an attacking role, like a lot of teams do. But the thing is, we would be more solid defensively. You might find that we've regularly only got to score once to win. So if Martial's playing, we're well capable of getting that goal. Do you know what I mean? It's a fine balancing act in your team, right? So if one of those was missing, I think they'd be missed less than if Martial was missing. As I've just said, if Martial doesn't play, just getting a goal, it's hard work. We haven't got anybody to hold it up, link the play up. The other players play better. Rashford plays better when Martial plays. I have people say to me, Martial plays better when Rashford plays. Not true. Martial plays well. He holds the ball up. He's a strong player.
It's just about getting the service, isn't it? Get it to him.
About getting the ball to him, and he's the vital ingredient. If he was missing, we'd be in a right mess. And I don't think we would. I mean, look, some people are putting Bruno forward as player of the season, and the player of the season for me should be someone who's played a bit more than the amount of time he's played.
That's the only reason I did not vote for him. Yeah, I agree with that.
But what I've got to say is, it's a little bit like the final. And I'm not saying it's the final piece in the jigsaw. We've got a way to go, but certainly in our fight for the top 4, it appears, or it was the final piece in the jigsaw. But that's just because of when we signed him. If he'd have been playing from the beginning of the season and playing in a team with Pereira and Lingard and Fred, and we'd have just signed Martial in January, we still would have been terrible at the start of the season, and we would have been brilliant from January onwards. Do you understand what I mean? The team has just got stronger as the season's gone along. There was no Pogba for most of the season. There was no Matic for most of the season. Martial missed nearly 2 months earlier 6 weeks anyway, earlier in the season. So bit by bit, the team's got stronger, and Bruno's just come into the team at its strongest moment, really. Do you know what I mean? So
I think Ollie deserves credit as well. I think the Bruno thing coming in is an easy way of copying out of crediting Ollie as well for the job that he's done. I think, like you say, as a team, we have definitely improved. There's a clear way of playing now. We're not threatening as opposed to looking boring and too slow, passive and scared to take risks. We're not doing that anymore. Even when we weren't playing well the last few games, I didn't feel like it was a case of us not wanting to play those passes, not wanting to take a risk. I just thought we were too tired to do it. I genuinely thought at times you looked like Bruno could have run And I felt we struggled on the fitness side of things. But I think in terms of our play, the way that we're starting to press, I do think Bruno and Martial, we've seen it pressing from the front as well. They instigate it. But I think Ollie deserves a lot more credit than he's getting. People are saying, oh, it's all Bruno doing this. No, Bruno has helped us. But Ollie is obviously, he's working wonders. And I said this, every signing that he has made so far, only going to Solskjaer, for me, has been a success. You look at Dan James. Yes, he started off fantastically and then he's kind of fizzled out. But for me, he's a squad player. He's not an 8-8 starter, but he can be effective from the bench. I think every signing he's made so far has been a positive one. That's why I'm excited for what the summer holds.
Yes, I think Dan James gets a little bit of undue stick from a lot of fans. I
mean, it's been a big step up for him.
Yeah, he's only, like you just used the phrase, he's fizzled out. He's sort of, it's not performances that have fizzled out. He's obviously Greenwood's come to the fore. He's got thunder in both feet. You know, he can bang it in. Yeah. He's taken James's place. James is spending a lot of time on the bench. If I've got another little criticism of Ollie, I don't think he trusts his bench players as much. Not all of them, but some of them should be trusted a bit more. The way Dan James was playing earlier in the season, don't forget, he played away at City when we won 2-1. He had a big hand in the goal that Marshall scored, 2 or 3 passes, 2 passes in that goal. He played at Stamford Bridge when we won 2-0. He played against City in the last game before lockdown when we won 2-0. He's played in some tough games where we've had really good wins. To suddenly not give him any game time at all, I think he's a bit out of order. And it looks like he doesn't trust him. And why shouldn't he trust him? If I was in charge, he'd be getting 20 minutes at the end of the game. You know what I mean? And I don't think
that's how I would use him.
It'd cost us anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's rapid. You saw with the Derbyshire Royal, right? Absolutely rapid. Nuno used to bring him on, like you say, at the end of games. I remember a game significant against West Ham when he came on and scored right at the end and got the winner for them. That's how I feel we should have used Dan James. I think earlier on in the season when he was playing consistently, you saw how many times did he beat his man and whip a ball into the box and there was no one there to attack it. No one anticipated it. He has got that in his locker. He does bring that, and people have kind of forgotten about it. Like I said, when I was watching every single goal since Ollie, and obviously Dan James, has got that streak that he went on when he first started playing for us. He offers much more than just running. I know he is very fast, and people call him a pace merchant. I do think he needs to get a bit more physical, but it's a big step up to the Premier League, and I think for his debut season, he's had a good season. And I agree. I would use him against tired legs. I think the Europa League will be a time when maybe you see a lot more Dan James. Alex has asked us a good question. Thank you for the super chat. He says, how many signings do we need this summer and where? I've said I would like to see, I think 3 players could be coming in. That's what I could see happening. I mean, what's your take on that, Ricky? How many players do you think we'll get and what positions would you be looking for?
We definitely need another forward. Definitely. I think when I say we need another, I'm not counting Sancho because I'm not counting my chickens. But if we get Sancho, I'd be happy with that. You know, we're decent up top, and we've got, you know, with Dan James, we've got one, you know, at least one good cover player. Sancho, to me, would get in the team. So if Sancho got in the team, I think that'd make us a much stronger. I watched Sancho a couple of times for Dortmund. I was desperate for a bit of football when the lockdown, when the lockdown.
We all were, I think.
And they put the Bundesliga on. I was well impressed with Sancho. So I'd like us to get Sancho. And I think we need a centre-back. Definitely need a centre-back. They're doing okay, the 2 centre-backs. They're obviously Maguire's never going to be replaced. He's mainly because of his price tag. But for me, he's only doing okay. I don't think he's world-class. I think he's just you should be getting world-class centre-backs for 80 million. But he's good.
Yeah, I think he's improved us. I do think he's improved us. Yeah, like you say, the price was ridiculous what we paid for him. You can't deny that. I always say it reminds me of the wardrobe out of Beauty and the Beast. That's what I think of when I see Harry Maguire. But I think he's very slow. We've seen that in the air. I think he's fantastic. I would like to see more from him in the opposition box. We saw that Leicester scored quite a few goals. But
he's fantastic at winning his headers. He hardly ever loses one. But to me, when people say he's fantastic in the air, I see too many headers that come to him and he wins them comfortably, but doesn't find a red shirt. He's sometimes too happy just to head clear when really he's got a little bit more time and could head to a red shirt. So some people are probably saying I'm being overcritical. I don't think I am.
Maybe that's
I never watched Liverpool, but I'll bet you anything. If I put a Liverpool game on, I'll see Van Dijk heading balls to his full backs, left, right, and centre. You know what I mean?
I agree though. Maguire, I think he won't be replaced. But for me, it's the leadership that he's brought. I think he lacked that kind of character, and he's got that. And like I said, that's why I think he's improved us. Maybe that's why they call him Slabhead, because he can't direct his head. Maybe that's the term. But yeah, I think he's good. Lindelof, do I fully trust him to be his consistent partner? I'm not sure I do, but I do think Lindelof played really well, by the way, last game of the season against Leicester. But physically, I do worry sometimes about Lindelof. Nicole says James is the man to bring on and bring life into the team when the legs are tired. I think it may have been a case of too much too soon, but he has huge potential. I'd agree with that. James even said that he didn't expect to play as much as he has done this season, stepping up into the Premier League. So credit to him. But talking about Dan James, look, I asked you what was your favourite moment of the season. Mine was quite easy. This was when Dan James scored on his debut against Chelsea. We won 4-0. I think that result kind of flattered us a little bit, but we won 4-0. But the emotion in his celebration, obviously his dad had recently passed away. I just thought that was absolutely beautiful, Rick. So my moment of the season was when Dan James scored on his debut. Have you got a moment in the season in mind?
Yeah, only because you give me a warning to think about it. I'm gonna pick the final whistle at the Etihad when we beat them in the league 2-1. And it was absolutely beyond my wildest dreams, because you look at the team now and look at the team then. I've looked at it today. In midfield that day, we had McTominay and Fred and Lingard. Do you know what I mean? So if you'd have said to me that we were going to beat
crazy, isn't it?
That day, and we only played with a back four, by the way, since them days since that day against the big clubs. Yeah. We've played with a back five, haven't we? So we played with a back four, McTominay, Fred and Lingard, and still beat them 2-1. It was an unbelievable performance that day. So I remember
that. Yeah, it's fantastic. I asked a few people this just on Twitter as well, and a lot of people saying the McTominay goal against City. For me, the game's already done and dusted at that point. But it was a nice moment nonetheless. But great moment when that whistle went, definitely. And like you say, with that team going out there, you never expect us. But that showed, didn't it? We are quite good against big teams. It's more the teams where they're compact and we can't break them down. Arturo's got a question for you, Rick. He says, what is your opinion of the future of Tuanzebe at Manchester United? Tuanzebe, what's your ideas on him? Do you think that he'll stay at United?
He's had a terrible injury record for a young lad, hasn't he? And I don't really know what the injury is. I don't know if you can help me on that. But he's been out a long time.
He's been out for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah. I also felt for him a little bit. I thought he was playing well. He played at left back, didn't he, against Arsenal? Yeah. And ended up giving a sloppy pass, which cost us an equaliser.
Which passed straight to Aubameyang, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah, which would have been a shocking decision. It's the sort of decision where you do need VAR to come in, because if you remember rightly, the linesman put his flag up, and it was in the.
I remember being in the ground. I remember being in the ground thinking, surely not.
Yeah. They disallowed it, didn't they? At first, the VAR correct. He was about 3 yards on fact. That's what
he was miles on.
Yeah, what VAR for in my book. But that was it was a sloppy piece of play by Tuanzebe. So he looked all right. I've not seen enough of him yet, though. And if you don't get if we don't sort his injury record out, we might not see enough of him. So I don't really know the answer to the question. I need to see more of him.
Yeah, I like Tuanzebe. I think the injuries is the worry, because he's still very young. I know Aston Villa absolutely worshipped him, that they loved him, they wanted him to stay. I think he had a very good season for them. Maybe after his injury, an idea of a loan would be useful for him to try and get that fitness back, so we can see more of him. But I can't see him getting in the starting 11 shortly. I think he's got a while to go yet. Maguire's price was not his fault. He has definitely improved us. Is Rice from West Ham the ready-made replacement for Matic, and can we sign him? Thank you for the super chat as well, Taron Rec. Declan Rice, we've been linked with him a lot. Do you like him?
I do like him. Can I just say a dead quick one? We cut short about the centre-backs. When I mentioned Maguire and Lindelof, and I said his price, because they've just mentioned the price, I wasn't suggesting that we definitely need a centre-back to take, but we haven't got any cover. So we need either a centre-back who can step in, and then and then probably Lindelof would be cover, or we need at least one for cover. So that's that cover. I don't mean to take the place necessarily, but we do need.
No, I agree completely. Yeah, I think Ake was linked obviously with City recently. I think that kind of mould of centre-back is what I'd like to come in. Somebody like you say who can step up. Another centre-back, obviously, I'm going to talk about him, is Chris Smalling. There was a clip going around of you comparing him to Harry Maguire, and to be honest, at the time, I've always liked Chris Smalling. It's always Phil Jones for me who should go. I would have always kept Smalling at the club, because I think he offers us so much more. If there was a chance, and obviously it's a slim one because it looks like he'll be staying at Roma, but if he could come back, do you think that he would be a good guy to bring back, and would he fit that mould of centre back?
I'd love to have him back. He'd walk into the team for me. A lot of people don't see it, but He's gone over there. I'm not surprised that
he's had a good season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had a good season. He's well rated in Italy. There was an article in the Mirror this morning that I saw where they were saying that Juventus might be interested in him. But they're watching Juventus know a thing or two about centre backs. So there's a lot. I think there's a lot said against Chris Smalling that's just fake, in my opinion. He's decent on the ball. People put the odd clip on Twitter of the stupid passes that he's made. You could
that one where he pointed to Rose dead. I remember that.
Anybody, I could pick 2 or 3 from Maguire. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a bit childish putting. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I put a thread on Twitter myself with loads of bad things or loads of good things. But just to say, look, here's one silly pass and say that proves that he's no good. That doesn't wash with me. Doesn't wash.
See, Smalling, like I say, Phil Jones, the fact that we kept him on and let Smalling go, it baffled me. I always thought Smalling was the better centre-back by far. And I think he had a lot of stick, to be honest. In that season where he was called Mike Smalling, how good was he in that season when we had a poor defence and he was the highlight of it? So I did feel... I'm glad he went to Roma because he's proved his worth a little bit there. And, I would take him back. Definitely, like I say, I was sad to let him go. But in terms of Phil Jones, 9 years now, I believe he's been at the club. Do you think it's finally time up for him this summer? Do you think he'll be at the door?
If they can get a club for him, I was just about to say then, like you said, you wish they'd have let Jones go out on loan instead, but maybe they couldn't get a club to take Jones. You never know. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true.
Certainly a club of any standing, like Roma, they're not a fair size Roma, they're not a small club, you know what I mean? I don't think he's going to be allowed to play in it, but they're still in the Europa League. We might come up against Roma, and see what they shape up like against us, you know what I mean? So
I don't know if he can play against us, actually. I don't think he can. I'm pretty sure I read the other day, I don't think he can, but it'd be interesting, definitely.
Must be able to. We might meet each other in the final, you never know.
Never know, it's true.
You'll be able to meet each other somewhere, can't you, if you stay in it, even if it's the final.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think, realistically, Europa League, do you think we can win it? I know it sounds a stupid question, but obviously we've mentioned, are we going to rotate? We've got a decent rest for the last game. I don't think he'll obviously have a rested team for that one. Maybe even the Copenhagen one. Do you think he'll go all out to win it? Obviously, if we get through, we should get through. Do you think he'll go all out? Because a trophy would be nice, wouldn't it?
I think he will. Yeah, I hope he does, and I think he will. Because, like you say, he might not have to go completely full strength or certainly for the last game. He can rest everybody. They're 5-0 up. They're capable of getting a result against Lask if me and you play.
We'll play centre backs.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but obviously they should get through against Lask. Well, they will get through against Lask. Then they should get through against Copenhagen without necessarily busting a gut. You know what I mean? Fingers crossed. No disrespect.
You think so?
Yeah. So then semi-final time, I think it's the likes of Wolves or Sevilla, I think, isn't it? And I think that's when they're going to get tough.
Wolves will want to win this because the VAR, was it Mike Dean who gave that decision against Burnley? My dad has still not forgiven him for that. I'll tell you that now. My dad is fuming still. He believes that because they poor teams have been this season, he believes that Wolves, this was a big chance for them to get into Europe, and so he thinks obviously they'll go all out now for Europa League. And Wolves, to be honest with you, I hate playing against them. I've got to be totally honest. I know obviously for personal reasons as well, because my dad and stuff like that, but they're our biggest test in the Europa League, in my opinion. Not any of the other teams. For me, it's Wolves.
We've played Wolves 7 times since they got promoted and beaten them
once. Every time. We've just horrible games.
And we've never scored more than 1 goal in 7 games against them. So I wouldn't relish playing Wolves in that semi, but I think that's the way it's headed. I'm saying it's the way it's headed. Don't underestimate Sevilla. It could easily be Sevilla. Sevilla are usually a really good side. So I think Wolves have got them in the next round if they get through. Wolves are not automatically through the last 16 yet. They had it quite tough, I think, against Olympiacos. Was it? I think 1-0 up, or was it 1-0?
Yeah, they've obviously got to get through against Olympiacos. I think there's 1 goal in it. I'm not sure it's 1-0 or 2-1. Definitely close. Right. But yeah, Olympiacos isn't going to be an easy game as well. But I just feel like Wolves, they're going to want this obviously more because
if it's us and Wolves it'll be a ding dong affair. If it's us and Wolves in the semi, it'll be a cracker.
Yeah, I'm just hoping it would pass them. Just because I feel like we've waited so long just to score a few goals. We seem to cancel each other out every game, and I hate it. But we spoke about our player of the season. and it was a bit undecided, but you've gone for Martial. Me, I sat on the fence a little bit. I did say Rashford because I was put on the spot. I only said that Rashford played well first half of the season. Post-lockdown, Bruno has been fantastic, but I think most consistent player, you'd have to say on the whole, has been Martial, so I agree with that one. What was your favourite goal of the season then? I'll let you start on this one. What would you say that the standout goal for you this season?
We've got some fantastic goals. People like different types of goals. I love team goals. I mean, I'll name a few that I've thought of. The game at Brighton where Matic played a volley pass towards a corner flag and Greenwood crossed it and Bruno scored.
Bruno volley, yeah.
Team goal. The goal at Norwich where Rashford and Marshall, a bit of interlinking play, and Rashford backheeled it to Marshall and he scored a little dink. Greenwood's goal against West Ham only the other day. If you watch that goal back, the number of quick, slick passes between him and Martial, it's a fantastic goal.
And that's the thing with Martial, I mean. He hardly touches the ball and then he's clever, he does stuff like that. That's why I want it into his feet a lot more. But yeah, I love goals like that as well. I'm glad you mentioned that one.
I loved the goal at City, which we've already mentioned that game. Two passes between Martial and Dan James. The keeper could have done a little bit better. But
he eat it so early though, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. He eat it early. Yeah,
we've had lots of great goals. I'm going to go for an. I mean, I know there's quite a lot of people. I think you said earlier Rashford's free kick at Chelsea, which was a fantastic goal. It really was. But I'm going to go for an individual goal. I'm going to go for Martial's goal against Watford at Old Trafford.
You know, that's my choice as well. I'm glad you said that. The little roll he did, obviously the little dink at the end, just the arrogance of it, the class of it. If Henry would have scored that goal, people would be talking about that for years to come. Just the way, the audacity. That was my vote as well.
I saw George Best play a few times. George Best would have been proud of that goal, so that'll do for me.
It was just class. Everyone seemed to stop. I don't know how he did it. He's not 1 yard ahead in his head. That's the only way I can put it. He's obviously thinking a lot faster. Foster's looked behind him and the ball's already in the net. Like the way he brought it down, the little skill, the dink, it was quality. I think if I had to categorise my top 3 goals, I think I'd say that Martial one, then I'd go the Bruno one against Brighton, and then I'd say the Rashford one third, because I'm a bit like you. I like a team goal. I think it's because we haven't seen goals like that. We've always had that individual brilliance, but we haven't seen goals where we've looked like a team. And I think that's something that Ollie's bringing. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've seen more of these goals since Bruno has come in as well. I just think, I love seeing us play as a team. The counter-attacking football against Brighton is just class to see. The pass from Matic was quality. Greenwood played the ball at the perfect time, and that you wanted Bruno on the end of it. Everything was just perfect in that one. But in terms of skill,
sorry,
no, it's fine. In terms of skill, and like I said, the audacity to do it the way he did it, that Martial one for me stood out. But we've mentioned Sancho's name a little bit.
We've even missed. I just wanted to mention Martial's goals that he scored recently, one against Southampton and one against Bournemouth.
Sheffield as well.
The one dribbling in from the wing against Bournemouth, like in the top corner. Then against Southampton, smashed it in the near post. Both absolutely fantastic goals. Really fantastic goals.
We've seen Martial do that obviously earlier on in his United career as well, where he likes to cut in on his right and whip it, and that's obviously something that he really fancies doing, and he's doing that a lot more recently, and I love it because he seems unstoppable. You know, as a defender where he wants to get to, but it's the speed that he does it at. He just breeds his past players, doesn't he? Yeah, quality. Right. But in terms of Sancho, if he comes in, firstly, who do you think he'll replace? Obviously, he'll start if he comes in. And secondly, is he the right guy you'd be going for? I mean, we linked with Coman, I believe, recently as well. Kingsley Coman as a backup, possibly. Adama Traore is another player who's linked with us as a backup, just in case. For me, Sancho is my number one target. And I mentioned it on TalkSport earlier. I think if you're looking at our current front three since lockdown, I think Rashford has been the weakest link. I think Greenwood's been playing really well. Martial, we've mentioned, has had a great season. Rashford would be the one who would lose his place. But long run, how can you see Sancho fitting in?
I think he favours playing on the right. I think he plays both flanks, doesn't he? But I think he favours playing on the right.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I watched him for Dortmund a couple of times after post-lockdown, and he's a real quality player. He's got loads of pace. He carries it. He keeps it close to his feet. Sometimes one of my criticisms of Rashford, he kicks it a bit too far out of his feet, and the defenders too often for me take it off him a bit too easily, you know what I mean? And Sancho for me looks absolute quality, and he also makes good decisions. He didn't seem to hold it too long. I hope he plays like this if we get him. But he just looked an absolutely class player. So I would have Sancho his favoured position is the right. So if he wants to play on the right, and then Marshall at 9, they're the two automatic choices in my book. And then it's for Greenwood, and if Greenwood's happy playing on the left, or is Sancho equally at home on both flanks, because he does play both flanks, maybe Sancho on the left and Greenwood on the right. But it's certainly certainly Sancho.
Greenwood obviously
Sancho
both feet, isn't he?
And then another,
Yeah, I agree. I think Greenwood is both feet, so I think he would be quite comfortable cutting in onto his right, to be fair. We've seen what he's capable of. I'm going to round off talking about Mason Greenwood before we go. And guys, get your questions in the chat as well for me or Ricky. Obviously, we'll answer some of your questions. But Greenwood, especially post-lockdown, but the transformation, I was watching a few videos the other day before lockdown, the way he looked, and after lockdown, he's really bulked up as well. We saw Rashford do the same. But along with doing that, it just seems to have added a different dimension to his game. He's just getting better and better, and I try not to get sucked into the hype with him. But it's hard not to, isn't it?
Yeah, when he came back, he looked a lot stronger. There's a lot of people were on my case pre-lockdown when I was saying, such as at Goodison Park, he just didn't really get in the game at all. And if a chance doesn't come his way, I mean, he's only a young lad, don't get me wrong. Another year or 18 months, he could be another player again. But he just didn't really get in the game, and he subbed in. I mentioned the game at City in the League Cup, which is a few months earlier at his age. It's another few months younger. They took him off at half-time. He just couldn't hardly get a kick of the ball. We ended up winning the match. But Greenwood, I think he touched the ball about 7 times in the first half. So if we're not playing great, and if we're not creating loads of chances, Greenwood wasn't getting in the match much. Now then, after lockdown, one person, because you always get this on Twitter, don't you? After lockdown, he was putting some goals in. Somebody said, "What do you think now, Rick the Red? What do you think about him starting games now?" Because I said he's not strong enough to start games. Well, certainly, straight after lockdown, he looked another player again. But if I'm honest, in these last few games, I think he struggled a little bit. I'm not knocking the kid. He's 18. Is he 18? Not knocking him. But like against Leicester, against Palace, he got a great goal against West Ham, but wasn't in the game a lot apart from that.
One thing I will say about him is
I'm not convinced that he's an 100% nailed-on starter just yet, but I think he will be. I would agree with that. I always say I don't want to get overhyped. He's been playing consistently. If Sancho comes in, I could quite easily see Sancho starting instead of Greenwood. Greenwood obviously has got to earn. I mean, I think ideally Greenwood would want a number 9, so he'd be competing more with Martial. But the good thing with Greenwood is he can compete with all three. He can rotate in for all three of the front players. He's versatile. And I think with Greenwood, when he is his most effective, you mentioned against West Ham, when he comes into those little pockets, he's not staying out wide. He tucks inside. He's clever. He gets into the gaps where Matic would often play into his feet. He'd turn and have a run. How many goals have you seen him scoring from outside the box where he's whipping it with his left or his right into that bottom corner? That's where, for me, he's not a natural wide player. He's central, but the way that he drifts inside, a bit like Mata used to do when he used to play wide and he used to find the little pockets. Greenwood's got that in his game for me, whereas Rashford on the other side, I don't think he has that intelligence to drift into those pockets. And that's why I think long-term, I think Greenwood is going to be a great player for us. But at the moment, if Sancho comes in, I don't think it's a big issue because Greenwood can literally take up any one of those 3 positions. I think he'll definitely come in and rotate. And you can't say the same about, like, Martial. Would he happily rotate on the right and left? I think he possibly could as well. Rashford, on the other hand, we've seen that he's not an out-and-out centre-forward. Do you know what I mean? So he's not as versatile in that sense. And that's something that Greenwood has got the upper hand on. But, yeah, I think he's finished the season fantastically well. I think when we started to slack off, I think you mentioned Greenwood didn't stand out as much. But I do think as a team, we didn't play as well. And I think going forwards, we lacked. But I do think Greenwood is one to be excited about. But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start week in, week out at the start of next season. But yeah, a lot of positive comments in here. Smash the like button. This rebuild says I'm a United fan. Good to know. We're all United. Most of us United fans here. MUFC gang, respect. Soph, she knows her stuff. Rick the Red, the best thing to happen to social media. Soph says fire. Mason Greenwood isn't ready to play weekly. Also has the ability to rotate as players number 10. Exactly, he can rotate amongst all of those 3 positions. Mark's given only an 8.5 rating for the season. Congrats on 9k. I want to say a big shout out to everybody who obviously supports the channel as well. I've just hit 9k. We're on the road to 10k now. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, we're growing. I'm absolutely buzzing with that today. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest with you. Dougie is a big fan of you, Ricky. Says big up to Ricky. United till I die. Says Ricky needs his own channel.
And then I'll tell you what, we'll finish on this question because I like this question. Since lockdown, we've seen retro shirts are the in thing at the moment. Everyone seems to be collecting retro shirts. What was your favourite ever shirt, United shirt? If you had to choose one, what would you say was the best shirt you've seen? And obviously this could be in terms of look, or it could be because it's nostalgic, because it means something.
I've seen too many shirts, but I remember it's most of 99% of the people won't even remember it. It's that far back. But when I was a kid, they just used to have around, and every club had the same shirt. It was just a certain colour with a white collar that went round your neck, a circle around your neck. That was the shirts they used to wear when I was. And I remember I was probably about 14 that United got a shirt that had a white V. It wasn't an open neck. It was a white V there, a white V,
yeah,
and a collar. That was all it was, a white V and a collar. And I was like,
yeah, I think I've seen. Yeah.
Wow, have you seen a new shirt? They'd never had it. The shirts had been the same for donkey's years and years. And suddenly got this shirt, a white V and a collar. So I'll name that one as my favourite shirt.
Because it was different.
Yeah,
it was a bit different.
Yeah,
I think my favourite shirt, that's a tough question. There's a lot of shirts that I loved. I loved, to be honest, because it was different as well. Do you remember the white and gold reversible shirt that, as a kid, like I was blown away by the fact it was reversible? I absolutely loved it. Yeah. There's that many shirts that I love, to be honest with you. Yeah. It's hard to choose my favourite. I think classic shirts for me are always the ones, even though I probably wasn't around for the majority of the nicest ones, like the 86 shirt, the blue one. Love it. I love the old Adidas Originals, to be honest with you. Adidas Original shirts, and I wish that Adidas with the new designs would change it, because that Chevrolet, I hate it. I don't know about you, Ricky, but that gold Chevrolet, it just ruins every shirt for me. I just really dislike it. It just clashes with everything. I hate it. I like the old AIG, or that kind of sponsor, like just white, Aeon, anything white, but the gold, I just dislike it. So it's hard, but I think if I had to choose a favourite, because it was different, like you mentioned, the white and the gold reversible was a standout. Purely as a kid, I remember just wearing it most days, and till it went grey, like the white, I wore it that much, it was disgusting, but I loved it, playing football in it as a kid. So that would be mine. But yeah, get rid of that Chevrolet, please. That's what I want next season. But no, but Ricky, I must say it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on as well.
No problem.
Absolute. We've spoken now for what, 42 minutes. We've done all right, haven't we? But I'm sure we could talk for a lot longer, to be honest with you. Ricky, if you just want to shout out where people can find you on social media as well, so I can go and support you.
Yeah, just Rick the Red UK on Twitter.
So make sure you go and give Rick a follow. Definitely. I love the little videos you put up, Rick, where you're analysing the game, or where you're reading out the starting lineup in front of your goals in the garden. I love it. So definitely keep up doing that. I look forward to that before every single game, honestly. Yeah. So go and make sure you follow Rick. And as always, guys, thank you so much for your support. We're like I say, we're on the way to 10k now. Appreciate it if you want to, if you hit the sub button. Hit a like as well. Hit a like for Ricky for being a fantastic guest as well, as always. And of course, if I have missed your comment, drop a comment on the video afterwards and I'll definitely respond to you there. All that's left to say is have a fantastic rest of your evening. Keep smiling, stay positive, and I'll be back again soon.